If you think you'll be able to retire along your own timeline, you better think twice because more than half of people who retire early are forced to because of their health. But you can easily create a strategy that pays you cash for retirement even when your health surprises you. I'll share some options in a moment, and I've linked 10 for you in the description because most people don't realize just how high the odds really are. You see, men have a 43% chance of falling into a serious disability, and for women, it's even higher at 54%. Most people don't know how to replace their income if they can't work. Maybe they have a year or two in emergency savings if they're very avid savers, but the average disability lasts almost 7 years. So tell me, could you retire on time if you went 7 years without a paycheck? But even hearing those numbers, you might be tempted to think you'll be the exception. Tal Sharot, an MIT neuroscientist, calls this temptation the optimism bias.
It's our tendency to overestimate our likelihood of experiencing good events in our lives and underestimate our likelihood of experiencing bad events. So we underestimate our likelihood of suffering from cancer, being in a car accident. We overestimate our longevity, our career prospects. In short, we're more optimistic than realistic, but we are oblivious to the fact.
Being optimistic isn't foolish, it's deeply human. But optimism also means you won't be prepared when you get a cancer diagnosis at 47 or have a stroke at age 58. And that's exactly how an entrepreneur like Tony ended up leaving his wife penniless during the last years of her retirement. You see, Tony ran a small family business alongside his two brothers, and his exit plan was typical: sell the business in his 60s and reinvest the profits towards his retirement. Now, a cozy seven figure exit would have taken care of his wife and four kids, no problem. But then Tony had an unexpected heart attack. He made it up alive, but he didn't recover enough to be able to continue working. His only option was to sell the business early and at a much lower price point than he originally projected. Now, Tony passed away soon after the sale, so he didn't feel the pains of his smaller portfolio. But his wife, Mary, absolutely did. The only reason she didn't starve was because her children financially supported her. But what if her situation were different? If their kids were estranged or simply didn't have the means, Tony would have set his wife Mary up for homelessness. And that worst case scenario is exactly what I help my business owner clients prevent for their retirement. So here are the three most powerful strategies you can add to your financial plan to defend against forced early retirement. But again, the guide in the description lists 10 options for a more comprehensive overview. First, secure a monthly payout so you become too sick or too injured to work. This is so you don't start drawing from savings while you recover. The simplest way to protect your wage is through a disability insurance policy. These bad boys will cover 60 to 90% of your income every single month, and they're reasonably priced at any income level, so don't worry yourself too much about the cost. The second option is to get a lump sum payment after you're diagnosed with a critical condition. And by critical condition, I'm talking about the big boys: heart attack, cancer, stroke. You get the idea. For someone in Tony's situation, a critical illness policy would have changed everything. Because instead of settling for whatever care you can afford, you gain the capital to secure the best healthcare money can buy. With better care, he would have made a full recovery. So instead of selling his business, he would have stayed in it until it was as profitable as it needed to be. That one difference would have made the last years of his wife's life so much easier. Now, the final strategy is to save even when you're not earning. This is possible with what's called a waiver of premium rider. A rider is effectively an optional add on to a life insurance contract. If you have a retirement focused policy and you find yourself disabled, the rider will kick in. And upon activation, the carrier will cover all your premiums. So if you're funding $10,000 annually towards your retirement using the life insurance, the company will continue funding that same 10 grand on their own tab. There isn't any other asset like this in the entire country. Most people aren't familiar with the concept of life insurance for retirement planning. So for a brief introduction, you can watch the video that just popped up on the screen.